Picking up the best, Imani's original, a club above the rest. Sweet savory, every bite's divine. Bean pie's fresh every single time. Taste the magic in every slice. Come on, now don't think twice.
Greetings, assalamu alaikum. I'm Imani Muhammad, founder of Imani's Original Bean Pies. For over a decade, I've been on a mission to create more than just desserts. I've been dedicated to bringing a taste of tradition, culture, and health to every table. Welcome to Conversations Over Pie, where we go beyond flavors and share the stories that nourish our souls. Here we'll gather around, just like family, and talk about the connections between food, culture, and community, all while savoring the moments that bring us together. So grab a seat, a slice of your favorite pie, and let's dive into heartfelt conversation that's as rich and as warm as the pies we love. Welcome. Now, greetings to all of you. I'm so glad to be able to do another show. I have some awesome guests again, but before I go into that, let's talk about Black Chicago Restaurant Week. Now, you all know, you see my shirt, it's a little different than the normal shirt that has this logo, because Just Sandwiches and Imani's Originals have teamed up together for Black Chicago Restaurant Week, and it goes from February 9th to the 23rd. So make sure you stop by Just Sandwiches, located on 79th and Woodlawn, inside the Woodlawn, where you can grab a combo that includes the delicious sandwich, her delicious soups, a fresh fruit cup, and of course, a slice of your favorite Imani's pie. So make sure you stop by. It's 1200 East 79th Street, that's 79th and Woodlawn, inside of the Woodlawn. So you know I had to make sure I talk about our sponsors. Imani's Original Bean Pies is always our sponsor, but I'm always excited when we're showing community, showing how we really operate. And community, what word is in community? Unity. And so I'm always happy to show the unity with the different companies that I'm able to create with. And I'm excited to talk about that. Also, if you're looking for me this week, you know it's Savior's Day weekend, and we're inviting everybody to come out to inside the Quarry Event Center, where Imani's Original Bean Pies is located at 2432 East 75th Street. Stop on by. We have special hours, so go to our social media and look. We're going to be open late. We'll be open all weekend. We're going to have soup, all types of food for you, and of course, those delicious bean pies. And we have a lot of believers and visitors that's coming in for Savior's Day, and they've already registered to be there. So if I were you, I'd call 773-900-7822 or text to get your order in, or to let us know you're coming. Okay, try to do that early, because Savior's Day, although we know the wonderful address takes place on Sunday, but everyone's starting to come into town, and we'll be doing our thing from Thursday to Sunday. Okay, and I'll talk more about that later. Now, let me get to my guests, because these are my brothers. I call them my big little brothers, because I'm the oldest, I believe. But these brothers are so wonderful. I'm glad to know them, because we've done a lot together. So let me start here. First of all, they're mathematicians, and they're brothers, y'all. So that's number one. They're really good at math, and they read a lot. So I'm just happy that my children were able to grow up knowing them, because they were able to influence them. Now, without further ado, I'm going to tell you their names. I'm going to bring them both in. But not only are they math guys, they're martial artists. Oh, my goodness. They're professors. One is a professor. One of them is Six Sigma Black Belt. Now, you all may have heard me tell this story, but he and I are going to tell it, about how he introduced me to what Six Sigma Black Belt even is. And that's important to a company like mine. But without further ado, I'm going to bring, so they could tell their story, Professor Tjuan Smith and I call him Sensei, so it's gonna say Sensei, but Coach Brian Parker. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me.
Yes. So look, I couldn't say everything. Yeah, you all know you my favorite brothers, right? Because not only are you all smart, you read a lot, you teach, you work with the youth, but you also are people that I consider can walk side by side with me because I know you could protect me, not just physically, but spiritually too, because you're good brothers. Yeah. So without saying, I want you to tell me, I'm gonna start with you, Professor Tjuan. Just tell us a little bit about you, from wherever you want to.
Well, thank you so much for this platform. I really do appreciate it. And today's title being Pi Square, because yeah, Brian and I are what they would call math savants. Uh, I grew up here in Chicago, West Inglewood Arena, and I met Mr. Coach Parker there in basketball. We played basketball together in high school, point guard, and that's just kind of the start because kind of got some parallel stories, both being from Chicago. Um, Basketball, math. That was my study partner in high school as well. Best friends since we were, I don't know, 13, 14 years old. And martial artist is also my frat brother. So we got an extensive relationship there. And it's just an honor being on this platform. And of course, I always I love the bean pie, especially the vegan one. So that's pretty much me in a small snap.
Now, you know, we got to go further than that. That's you in a real snap, but I get to brag about you. You may not brag about yourself, but I'm going to brag about you all today. So tell us your education. You say education, you got a bachelor's degree? Well,
Yes,
first
man.
of all, you're a Linwood alumni. Then you got a bachelor's degree, and then what?
So Lynn Bloom, definitely, class 91, swoop, swoop. Lynn Bloom Eagles. I had a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in industrial engineering.
See, See, I'm letting the people marinate that, right? Now I'm gonna come back to you because those are just your degrees. You have done so much, from working in the college level, from even working with. So let me tell this story before I bring Brian in. I gotta tell it. So my daughter, I homeschooled her, but the program that we had her in gave her math when she was like 13 or 14, and then they didn't give her math anymore for the whole program. So when she went on to the city college at 17, she was like, I don't remember a lot of math and I'm gonna fail my math. And she went and spent maybe 2 or 3 days with you, and she's been flooring ever since. Dean's List. I mean, now she's in school for her master's degree, right? And I always brag about this and tell people this story. Not only that, you helped me with math so that I could teach the children that I was homeschooling and that was in my daycare. I would always call you. You remember that?
Sure do. Yep, I sure do.
Okay. Well, without further ado, because we got to come on, Brian, don't leave us yet. We got to talk about you. See, I get to brag. This is what I call my bragging rights, if you all don't mind, right? I get to brag about my brothers, right?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. So, Sensei Brian, tell us your story.
Story. I'm born and raised in Chicago. Went to school started at Emmanuel Christian School. Migrated over to St. Rita, and then finally, my mother, who was a Chicago public school teacher, retired. She saw an opportunity for me to get into the what was called the Academic Center at Beasley. So I tested into Beasley when I was in third grade, or going into the third grade, and I graduated from Beasley in 1987. I got to give a lot of credit to the mentors and the teachers over at Beasley for and my mom, of course, and my father, but just the mindset of scholarship and always striving to learn, to grow, to keep pushing. From Dr. Green, Dr. Palmer, Dr. Tweedle, Miss McLemore, the list goes on and on. One of my favorite teachers, my eighth grade teacher, Miss McDougal. Graduated from Lynn Bloom. Me and Twan met in study hall, so we've been studying together, since the first day we met. I went to University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. I was there for 5.5 years, and eventually transferred out and graduated from Iowa State University. So my degree and background is in physics, engineering, science, and communication. And then from there, I was trying to make money. So I was trying to use this education to really kind of chase and make money. I found out that that was the wrong way of going about business. So instead of chasing money, I started pursuing and living my purpose, which was actually education, which I ran away from so many years of my life. And so I kind of started out doing substitute teaching, and then, you know, the children just pulled me in. And so from there, I was doing reading and math tutoring, and then was recruited by my principal, Dolores Humphreys over at Oakdale Christian, where she asked me to come and be a classroom teacher. And from there, things just took off, and I just settled into, I think, what my purpose is, which is working with children. So currently, I've been a principal, I've been a dean of student, but I'm currently teaching 7th and 8th grade math at Providence Inglewood Charter School on 65th and Ashland. So it is just a short walk away from where we went to high school at Lindblom. And then I continue to coach basketball, teach chess, martial arts, SAT math prep. We do educational consulting, where we do after school programs for children, which again includes martial arts, basketball, chess, mentoring, and whatever we can offer in the way of helping our children become the best that they can be.
Wow. So I know the great work that you've done with so many young people. In fact, my children were in your basketball camps. Even the girls, I just wanted the girls to kind of experience, because they weren't able to do like gym, like when we grew up. So it gave them an opportunity to experience that. But I got some bragging stuff that I need to talk about with you as well, because I remember, so the children always love Coach Brian, period. All the children love Coach Brian. But I was honored because you invited me out to Oakdale Christian just to see your students, talk to them, and just see how they love on you and you love on them. That was just wonderful. Because I already knew from the dojo point of view and from my children, but to see you in the classroom and to see how you didn't just talk the talk, you really walk the walk. You introduce our children to a knowledge of self, So yes, they get math, they get literacy, but they get a knowledge of self when they deal with Coach Brian. And to me, I believe that's why they love you so much. They just see that realness in you.
I appreciate it. A lot of the students reach back, they are adults now, and a lot of stuff that we were telling them then, even though they weren't ready to digest it, like a seed, you plant it, and, it's going to take, its root is going to sprout eventually. And so we would talk to them about, diet, nutrition, physical fitness, stretching, meditation, yoga, whatever we could, again, tapping into their higher self. So, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna brag on you in a minute. So I got a story to tell about you. So, it's your program. So
I don't know how to stay focused, brother. Before I came on, I'm saying, wait, we're gonna be all over the place. I have so much. These brothers, when I tell you, see, we get all this negative stuff in Chicago, and I'm saying, well, who do you all be around? Because my team is pretty much fire. My team is cold. Like, I could hear about you all. I could be somewhere in a whole nother town or side of Chicago, and I'm going to hear great things about you all every time. And you all do a lot in Inglewood. So I need to brag about that too. But I'm trying to stay focused, because we can go so many places, from coaching basketball, from tutoring math to young people, to martial arts. So you all tell me where you want to go. To not only that, you all text me. You all used to always do this, more so in the past, to read books, certain books, right? So you're good at you've read several books, so you're well read. And then, well, it was something else I wanted to point out. Oh, finance. Sensei Parker, you like a guru to me, in my opinion, when it comes to finance and how to manage your money. So now you all pick the topic. First topic, we're gonna shoot and go for it.
I say I wouldn't consider myself a guru just yet, but I study the gurus, right? And so
Right.
anything they say is probably a function of who I read or who I watch. And so Professor Smith put me on Charlie Munger. Then as always, the great Berkshire Hathaway owner, who I love his story because,
Warren Buffett.
he was Warren Buffett, but he was an investor, but he didn't really start to see his millions until he was in his mid 50s. And so
Right.
I use that as wealth is not a function of right now, it's a function of patience and being consistent over a period of time. And so after reading and looking at their stories, I said, well, let me apply it, to my life, and see if we can start this process, not just for me, but for all those who are coming behind me, which includes, my students, my children, my grandchildren. And so we apply the formulas. And so, again, being a guru is not a function of what we know, it's a function of the principles that work, which are math principles, by the way. Professor Smith, mom was into, what was the investment company where she was teaching us the rule of 72?
Primerica.
Primerica, yeah.
Primerica. She was in Primerica. So now I'm like, okay, if you start investing or if you start saving, you're not going to be rich tomorrow. You're not going to be rich next year. But when you hit that level, it's a level where you start to increase. It starts to increase exponentially. And so I'm looking forward to that time when I retire, and my formula hopefully takes root in the next 3 or 4 years, where we can see retirement, and then we can start doing some other things. So we can go all over the place, but I'm gonna leave it there and defer to Professor Smith.
Yeah, we can. President, I'll call him president because he has his own company too, and so do I. We both are entrepreneurs, and what we study, like I said, you study the best, and on the way to be the best is study the best. Kobe studied Michael Jordan, so why not study someone who's very accomplished? So we, like I said, we're read, and we check each other. We call each other every other day. Hey man, what's going on? How you doing? What you doing with what kind of investments are you looking at? So on and so forth. And it don't be a lot of money, but it's consistent. So those $15 to $20 do add up over a course of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So we do the math and we look at, okay, exponentially, how would this look? We can do a formula. Say if I do $20 for 300 days, yes, X amount of dollars. Okay, it's $6,000. And however you want to do that, how many years you want to do that, you look up, it'll be, man, 5 years it'll be $30,000. Like, man, where you get $30,000 from? Like, man, $20. Out of I eat $20 going out to eat. So we just do the simple. And for us, the genius in any math, any formula is the simplicity. The simpler it is, the more genius it is. And we look for that in anything, whether it's Aikido. You say our first move is get out the way. Now, why would I be in the way? If something is coming at me negatively, I just get out the way. And mathematically, when you remove something that's negative, a negative times a negative is positive. I always add it back up.
Yeah, and then the energy between us, very much like how we are in the dojo. Once he starts talking, I find my way back in. It's like a him and I, what I'm saying, back and forth flow. So, I was just thinking to add to it is, not making it a manual thing, but making it something that's automatic. And so, we talk about the 10%, whatever you get, if you can make it automatically that as soon as you get some money, 10% of it is going for your future. And then a portion of this is going for your now, and a portion of a portion of it is going to invest. You're going to always win. So wealth for me, it's not about how much money you make. It's just about continuous growth. And so when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about financial wealth. We're talking about spiritual wealth. We're talking about mental wealth. We're talking about knowledge, growing in knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And then, in scriptures, it says, be fruitful and multiply, right? And so right there is math. In scriptures telling you got to get into your math, and that's multiplication. It's also telling you that you might want to be a vegetarian or a plant-based eater, because be fruitful is, to deal with fruits and vegetables. And so for me, vegetarian, veganism, plant-based eating, and math goes hand in hand. And I'll always say, how are you going to be intelligent but do things that are not intelligent? So typically, for me, if you're a mathematician and you're working on formulas, you should be applying those formulas to your health, which means that plant-based eating should be at the forefront. I'm not saying that you cannot eat fish or steak or turkey or whatever, but plant-based eating has to be at the forefront, right? And so if you're a mathematician, you should see this as a formula that works, right? And so that's kind of what math does for me. It allows me to apply formulas or a process or a program to everything that we do and say, will this work? Similar to Six Sigma, right? Or project management.
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. It's funny that you say that because it's, we know that people like pie, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I started making soups, I wanted to introduce people to eating, real food, cooked food, vegetables and the thing, and getting the minerals and the vegetable intake that we need. But to my surprise, like at the stores, most people want that bean soup and that
Mm-hmm.
red lentil soup.
Yeah.
They
So,
mhm.
well, I was going to say I see the great and that illuminous book, Message to the Black Man, and so that book came across, my nose. I got a taste of it when I was in college, and to be
Mhm.
honest, I was sitting around with a group of guys, and it was a cloud of smoke in the air. If you get my drift, and the book was just sitting there, right? And so I ended up picking it up because the book had my name on it. It said Message to the Black Man, and from the moment I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. And so my brother, who is now my fraternity brother, we call him Cake Daddy. That was his name that he chose. He had the book, and we was just sitting around in a cipher, right? And brothers know what a cipher is, in college. And once I picked the book up, I said, "Man, can I take this back with me?" And he was like, "Man, go ahead, man. You can read it." And I probably read it in 2 days, if that. But that formula that I saw in the book of eating once a day. My mic was muted.
It was that we heard you. It stopped at eating once a day.
The formula I saw with eating once a day or eating once every 2 days, uh, plant-based being the major part of your diet. Me being a mathematician, I said, let me test this to see how it works for me. And so I
Mhm.
tested it and I saw the change instantly. And I didn't change right away, but I knew that this is the way that I wanted to go. So I had to build up my willpower to overcome my desire to eat meat, to overcome my desire to eat burgers, and to overcome my desire to eat uh, uh, pizza, and so when Professor Smith and I kind of started we became roommates. That willpower became a function of us pushing each other. Man, don't do that. So it's easy to tell somebody not to do it, right? If you got somebody that's like you telling you not to do it, and then you can tell them not to do it. Now you basically like you talking to yourself, right?
That's a team.
So it's like, so we actually went full vegan on the same day because we living together. Like, man, we ordered a pizza. We like, this it. This is the last day, December 31st, 2010. We had our last vegetarian pizza from Baracos,
Oh wow.
and then January 1st, 2011, we decided to push ourselves into being fully plant-based, which is no cheese, no dairy, no eggs, no milk. And from a young man growing up on the south side of Chicago, and how it is in our community with Harold's, Italian Fiesta, jerk chicken. These
Yeah.
places, phenomenal flavor, right? So it's hard to give it up because you feel your culture all through the food, right? You like, man, I can't let go
Yeah.
Harold's. I can't let go Italian Fiesta with the grease
Can't
falling
let
off
go of
the
that
pizza.
Italian beef dip. You know what I mean?
Italian beef
Mhm.
dip.
Mhm.
It's hard to let
Newtown
it
Polish.
go because yeah,
You know.
Polish. Yeah, we used to go down to
Yep.
Jewtown. We call it Jewtown. That's supposedly not, but that's what we called it when we were.
Here it is.
We get a Polish, and they have it right there for you, ready, onions.
Onions, peppers, yeah.
But it's hard to get away from it because it's your culture and it's how you grew up. So you have to have something that's going to push you over that edge to let you know that even though it's something that in your mind it tastes good, it may not be the best for you. So you have to make a decision between what tastes good and what is good. But again, that book, Message to the Black Man, it kind of got me on my way in terms of studying my diet and my nutrition and how it affects me in terms of my body, my thinking,
Mhm.
my production.
And
I'm
take it
happy
to a
you brought that up. You were going
right.
to say
And take it
something,
to
Professor?
yes, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And take it to another level. Once we start get into a rhythm on the food, we started looking at something different to get to the next level. A lot of the fasting. Man, it was taking it to the next level. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, you can eat clean, but then what about the healing portion? What about the blessing? What about the communication with the Most High God, or Allah, whatever everyone wants to refer to the Creator Himself or herself? So we went to another level with the fasting, and we started sharing that information, and that led into some other things. What we talked about finance earlier, so we started studying crypto, and we're not scared of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we push each other, like he says. It's like watching Scotty and Pippen and Michael Jordan grow together. All of a sudden, they got rings upon rings upon rings upon rings, and one never won without the other.
That's right. So you all brought up some things, and this show, Conversations Over Pie. These are the things that, this is my goal and my team's goal, to point out the community, the Black community, the unity that we have. First of all, I'm gonna go back. You all said something that was really key, in the fact that you all stayed friends since childhood. Now, I got a lot of my friends that's been my friends since grammar school. My sister, my biological sister, has her friends from grammar school, since grammar school. My children have their friends since they were young and in like grammar school age. And so this right there speaks to speaks against the myth that says we're not unified. See, because it takes a certain type of people to even roll like that, to be like that, right? It's a certain upbringing. It's something that in your upbringing and something along the way that got you there. Then you turned around and said, okay, we went to school, but we started to study things, and we started to study. And by the way, I wanted to say this. I don't think anyone has ever brought up my books in the show. I could be wrong, but I just want to commend you for bringing that up, because it's there for a reason. And when we talk about How to Eat to Live was the first thing that Master Farad Muhammad gave the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, you all are mathematicians, so you all understand that everything happens with reason. It was a reason for that. In English lesson C1, what did the man do? He taught us to eat the wrong food. Why? To get to control our minds. And so one of the things, I just real quick want to say this, and then you all could take over. One of the things that I noticed by distributing our product in health food stores and fresh markets and things like that, that it wasn't so black and white anymore with me. It was more or less like income and education. So what I noticed is the people that really cared about what they ate tend to be a little more educated. So not only could I talk to them about bean pie, what's in it, but we can start talking about a book that they read. So I just kind of noticed that. So the least they can keep us educated, then the more they can control our minds. So that's why How to Eat to Live is so important, because we got to clean ourselves up from the inside out, right? And we gotta read books. You got to get educated so you can understand your worth. You talked about knowledge of self, brother, but I want you all to take over. If
I could start, we just think of a child is born, right? And the first thing that the child is going to receive before they learn how to talk, before they learn how to walk, before they learn how to read, before they learn how to write, is they're going to receive nourishment from their mothers. And so when you speak of Master Farad Muhammad and what he gave the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to start them off, you have to treat them first like a child. You have to give them this nourishment so that they can be prepared to learn how to talk, to learn how to walk, to learn how to read, to learn how to write, and then to learn how to produce. And so for me, again, what we do is we apply the mathematical wisdom to movements. And so in that movement, it makes sense to teach diet and nutrition before you teach spiritual principles, right? Because even before you can get spiritual principles, we don't come out the womb reading the Quran. Though children may be born Muslim or born into a Christian faith, born into a Hebrew faith, they don't come out reading the Hebrew scriptures, the Holy Bible or the Holy Quran. They come out crying and wanting nourishment. So I see it as a function of, supreme mathematics. And so that's what I gravitate to, supreme mathematics, class when I was in college.
Teach, brother.
So it's
Yes. Let's go.
Islam for me. I was like, we grew up. I went to Emmanuel Christian School, so it was all, and I'm from the West Side. I'm from a strong family tradition of, African Methodist Episcopal, I believe it was. And so my people were from my ancestors or my family migrated from Mississippi. And so we carry that faith. But even in that faith, there are spiritual principles that supersede faith, right? It's universal. And so we've actually been looking at Mississippi and looking at our lineage and saying, I started asking these questions. So many people from Mississippi, I'm starting to think that Black people really are the true and righteous owners of that particular land, because I can't see Europeans living in Mississippi with how hot, as the great master teacher said, the sweltering, the heat sweltering, down in Mississippi. Yeah, you can't be down there fair skinned and not it darken your complexion. So as dark as I am now, if I go to Mississippi, I'll be darker, or at least I'll shine a lot brighter, up under that sun. But again, yeah, I just saw it as a function of supreme mathematics, and when you start talking about supreme, everything has to be done in a supreme mathematical chronological order in order for it to be true and exact.
Yeah. I see Professor waiting to get in.
Yeah, it's wild because I have, I'm a Wu-Tang fan. You know what I'm saying? I love hip hop. I love music. And at the end of the day, we have a rhythmic people, and I was just sitting still and his words kept coming to my mind with RZA was on the street and the guy kept saying, peace, God, what's today's mathematics? And he went in on him with number 8 that day. And I was like, wait a second, supreme mathematics. This has been the last 2 weeks. I've been studying, looking and researching. That's all knowledge, wisdom, understanding. 1, 2, 3. I'm like, all right, bet. See, talking about cipher, 0. I'm like, wait a second. So everything, like you said, happens for a reason. And Brian and I always talk about fundamentals, just basic fundamentals, that's his corporation. Then I always say for my corporation, which is really still my initials, the little stuff, that's always the little stuff. And man, mathematics is never the big problem. It's whether you're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide, read, and check your work. You got to check yourself on things that we do. You know what I'm saying? What we're going to add to our life, what we're going to subtract, what needs to be multiplied, what needs to be exponential, what needs to be divided, and we have our formulas in that realm, just the fundamentals. Right. And we go back and forth on that quite a bit. Even in Aikido, fundamentals. Every press I always get on our fundamentals. And if we're not doing our fundamentals, we can't do what's so-called complicated or more advanced techniques if you don't have your fundamentals. Same with math. Same with anything. Same with your business.
Good. So my producer is really enjoying this because she never sent me some questions and things or reminders. But before we end, okay, I wanted you to explain Six Sigma real quick. And let me tell you why. Because I know that we can't cram it all in. I'm gonna have to bring you all back, probably on a few times. Maybe not always together if you're, because right now, I think one of you traveling, right? So but I just want you to touch on what is Six Sigma. I think our people need to understand it if they can. So in layman's terms.
In layman's terms, okay, Six Sigma is it's like having an umbrella, right? And it's a lot of things for a lot of people under the umbrella, but only some of us are gonna stay dry. And imagine like a bell curve, you got processes and products going through a process or some sort of manufacturing process. Some of them are going to come out squeaky clean and some aren't. So what's happening is out of 1 million transactions, Six Sigma says 3.4 of them have errors. So it's kind of a big umbrella, but from a quality standpoint. So we always want to be in a situation where we're going to have quality output. People buy quality before they buy quantity. I'm a huge, I'm not getting paid for this, but I'm a huge Toyota fan. And I haven't taken my car to the shop probably 3 times in the last 20 years, really. I had a Toyota and I had a Lexus. And I just know I know that they have what they call the Toyota production system based on Six Sigma. and they just check everything. The windshield wipers, the blades, the steering wheel, every little thing has gone through a Six Sigma process of quality. And that's why I look for those kind of automobiles. They're going to give you the least amount of problems. American automobiles, not so much.
So that's the 5S system, right? Toyota.
That's part of it. Yeah, the 5S. We got a lot of tools. 5S is one part of the Six Sigma. But at the end of the day, after 1 million transactional opportunities to produce something, we may have 3.4, not 340, not 34, 3.4 errors of something that needs to be redone, something that's not top-notch quality.
Out of that's pretty good. That's good. So these things are, tell us a little, I remember when you were testing to become the black belt Six Sigma, because it's different belts, right? Do you want to tell us live, about that process and how you had to learn it?
Well, I will, and then I'll be quick. I'm almost a fundamental guy, and it's based on the fundamentals of statistics. And so I learned the basic on stats, averages, mean, median, and mode. The definitions were really key. The formulas, because I do math pretty decent, the formulas wasn't so tough for me to catch on to. But at the same token, it was a 4-hour exam. I had to take it in Houston. I thought I failed it because there was so many questions, and I was struggling because I was taking the test in order, the numbers. I said, I don't do this. So I shook it off a little bit, and then I had to start going with the problems that I knew for sure. I almost failed that test one time. But once I started doing that, I started jetting through the test, and I tried to register because I was like, I know I failed this test. They wouldn't let me re-register. They said that you're certified. And I'm never taking that test again. Because it's one you have to zero in on for real. And I think I was taking an Aikido test. At the same time, I think I was testing my blue belt. I think a blue and black stripe. So I was always in the test mode. So that helped carry me through, like just being mentally, physically, and spiritually in shape. So you combine the two, and it just worked out well. And I kind of lived that way. I look at certain things that are working, things that are not working. Let's make some adjustments. I just finished teaching a class of trades, for the math for the trades. 15 students graduated this last Tuesday. One of the young men got 100 on the Glazers exam. They said they haven't seen anybody get 100 on the exam in years. He's like, give me all the props. I'm like, no, you got to give the props to Most High God, because if that power didn't wake you up, you wouldn't be able to take that test. I can't take all the credit for that. But I made adjustments during that class. I used Six Sigma to teach my courses, make some adjustments. I get feedback from those customers, the students, and I make adjustments. And they tend to do quite well. And these are all black and brown brothers and sisters. 15 of them getting admitted to the trades. So if I'm doing math, I say if they make about 50,000 each, so I'll probably help to be responsible for putting about $750,000 on the streets for taxable income in the city of Chicago.
In a positive way.
Yes, in a positive way.
It's and the growth in construction is pretty much endless, so they can continue to grow and make more and more money and be able to take care of their families.
Yes, they're going to get benefits from work. They can help get the dental work for their children, whatever benefits they need from a medical standpoint. You're not going to worry about 13 guys that look like me and Coach Parker robbing someone, because they up early in the morning before the sun gets up to go get that money at the union, at the construction site. So my class started at 6 a.m., wrapped up about 9, sometimes 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And Coach Parker, he's been there. He can chime in on this. I would love him to. Go ahead.
About the math class?
Yes.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, Professor Smith allowed us to come in and kind of guest teach his class. And one thing about people, no matter what level they are, when they're in the classroom and they have to be there at what, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning,
5:30.
they're there 5:30 in the morning. They are there to learn. So I start every class that I teach with, I am blessed to have students in front of me that are ready and willing to learn, because it's going to bring something out of the instructor, right? Our instructor, Professor Jackson, always says, you know, the loneliest place in the dojo is at the front of the class. But it's not as lonely when you have students who are ready and willing to learn. I was sharing this with my wife earlier today, I think, because we had just attended Sensei Sharif's seminar, and you know, I say, you know, there's opportunities to step up and teach, and when you give an opportunity to step up and teach, you never know what you're going to teach until you get up there, and it's never rehearsed. It's never something that you'd be like, man, I can't wait to get a chance to teach because I'm gonna teach this. It's on me. And then once you get out there, you like, okay, and then something just comes over you. So it's like you're in a you know, you professor would say this, I just received a download. You better get it while it's flowing. And so he had students that were ready and willing to learn. And I promise you, I didn't know Professor and I both went over there and we got a chance to teach. And so the energy of the class draws the lessons out of you. And oftentimes it doesn't draw the lessons out of you, it draws the lessons through you. And so again, that's that mathematical formula, but it's also mathematics as applies to spirituality. So when all the spirits and all the people are connected and they're on one accord, and you are the conduit for their lesson, you become a conduit not just for a lesson for them, but for a lesson from yourself. And so I used to hear professors say this to me, or I used to have, you know, he used to be like, man, thank you all. I'm like, you the teacher, we supposed to be thanking you. But when you become a teacher, or you become a professor, or you become a sensei, and you have students, you are very thankful that they are tuning in, that they are present, and that they are asking questions, because it's drawing the lessons through, right? And so he had that type of class, and I give him credit because, you know, when we walked in, they all got to wear a shirt and tie. They have to sit up a certain way. If they don't sit up, they got a gentleman that comes through. You know, when he come in, they, yes, sir. They say things like, yes, sir. They ask, can they go to the bathroom? They don't just get up, you know, they can't have cell phones. So it's a real classroom. And for me, it's an example of what a classroom should always look like, in terms of everybody is present, ready, willing to learn, and everybody's helping each other. You know, it's not a quiet classroom. Go ahead.
There's two things I want to touch on. I want to touch on that, and then we're going to end with our last 5 minutes or so talking about martial arts, because we didn't make things clear. Because we're friends, we just talked about this like we always do. We didn't talk about what kind of art, who our teachers are, you know, that type of thing. So hold that for me. But I want to touch on what you just mentioned about them wearing a certain tie, sitting up straight. Yes, sir, no, sir. Some people view that as, oh, you teaching them to be mechanical, or they just doing what people say, or like being followers. I want you to really talk about the discipline and why it's so important to learn discipline. Because I heard the minister talk about this before. Minister Farrakhan talk about how his mother made him play the violin for hours a day once she decided that was the thing he was good at, he could do. And because of that discipline that she instilled in him, that's who made him who he is today. Because when he began to study Islam, he was used to studying for hours. He was a virtuoso at 14, by the way. You know, so he was on TV at age 14 playing the violin. So once he said, but because of that discipline, and he said to the believers, make sure that you give your children a discipline and teach them that, so that when they move forward. So I want you to talk about that discipline, because we don't want to just blow past it. It's very important.
Well, for me, the discipline means we're going to be very efficient. When things are not efficient, when you don't have any discipline, you got to kind of corral the energy of the classroom. You're doing too many character or corrections. You know, let's class settle down, class sit down, and where you going? Get off that phone. Then when you have discipline, you can teach. And the student will end up teaching you, like Coach Parker was saying earlier. And I got to give credit to Pastor Kevin Ford. He's either the son or the grandson. I don't want to mess this up, but the son or grandson of the Bishop Ford, and we drive on Bishop Ford Highway.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So they're at St. Paul's Catholic Church, right on 45th and Wabash, and they reached out to me from one of my frat brothers, and we talked on the phone. I didn't talk about money for the job, and it kind of gave him my background. They were like, "You want your job now?" I'm like, "Sure." And like Mr. Parker was saying, once you get in front of those students, they're going to draw something out of you. And for me, the name Professor Smith, I'm going to tell you this real quick story. My Cub Scout teacher, he ended up getting my Cub Scout master. I'm sorry. When I was in third grade, he's always saying, "Hey, Professor." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm third grade. And I said, "Why you keep calling me that?" He says, "Well, anytime your book bag is bigger than you got to be the professor." So I don't really take it as a title for work. It's a nickname, and I feel like this, now they pay me for it. And so that's how I look at it. So that I don't take it as, "Oh, I'm the professor, listen to me." Like, man, I've been a professor since I was 8, 9 years old. So to hear them say professor, I just kind of look like, okay, it's a nickname. I don't take it serious like that. So.
Well, then I get to brag on you because it is serious and you are a professor. And I don't know who that person was, but give homage to that person because he understood the importance of speaking positiveness into young people. So he saw that in you, and he was basically just telling you who you were going to be, and that's who you are.
And it's the last part is I was in Inglewood, stopping by this one bar, have an adult beverage. He was in there. He said, "Hey, Professor." He said, "What are you up to now? What you doing now?" I just shook my head. I was like, I'm a professor." He was like, I told you. So I was like, "I'm glad you didn't call me crook." You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's a lesson in that because some people don't understand the power of words and what they say to their children.
Definitely. Manifestation. Serious.
Yeah. Yes. So we want to end with talking about the art that we all study, which is Aikido. We want to talk about our teacher. I've had Professor Jackson on the show before. So we can talk about that because it's a lot of years have passed since we started. I think I started Aikido maybe about 18 years ago, but my son, so maybe 5 to 10 years prior to that, my son was, I had him in martial arts. And by the time that I had 2 daughters after that and brought them in, then I began. So we got about 20 years in together. I said all that to say that.
I'm gonna defer to Coach Parker. Let him start because
Yeah, I started Aikido at 29. I'm 52, so I always dated by my birthday. I'll be 52, so it'll be 23 years completing around my birthday, going into my 24th year. And I met Professor Jackson because they had a program at Oakdale Christian, and so I was in maybe my second year teaching. And you know how we think. I was studying martial arts, and I was studying with some Koreans. And I'm looking at him like we do martial arts. So me, I'm young, I'm spry, I'm a little arrogant. I'm like, "You do martial arts? Oh, okay, I do martial arts too." So I threw a punch at Professor. All I know is I was like, "Okay, when is your class?" I just leave it at that. And we went the hallway, and I was just like, "Okay, what'd you do?" And people do this to me nowadays. My nephew used to do this to me a lot. He'd be like, "Oh, you study martial arts? What you do if I do this?" And when he was getting up off the ground, he like, "How you do that?" And so I did that to Professor. He like, "How you do that?" And I'm just like, "Man, I saw your punch coming a mile away. It was easy." So when I did that Professor, I was like, "Okay, when's your class?" And then I met Sensei Sharif. And around the same time, I was really getting into studying the words of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I went over to Crow, and then I see Sharif. I'm like, "Wait a minute. I just saw you at Moscow." I'm like, all within the same week, right? And he was like, "Yeah, bro." So I was like, "Okay, where's this dojo again?" And so the first time I went in there, the way the brothers was flying around, I stopped going to the other school I was going to. I still had, they had you on contract. I had 2-3 months left. Now I'm done. I'm over here with the brothers, and I've been like that since then. And so Aikido has been such a blessing to me because, I went from being a little, arrogant or whatever to really being humble by mastery in front of me, mastery that looked like me. You know what I'm saying? So when I see a Sensei Sharif, at the time, Sensei David, I saw Tristan and Musil, who were brown belts, but they were looking stronger than the guys who were second to third degree in the system that I was studying in. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is different. And I'm seeing blue belts, children, rolling out, Leonard.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. They got this little boy that's called, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah, I got to get with my people. And so it became a family. And I've been in love with my dojo ever since, which includes you, Sensei Imani, Professor Smith, Senpai, Sensei on the way. And I can't say enough about it. And wherever we are, when we see each other, I was at Sensei Sharif's seminar this past weekend. And Sensei Lil John walked in. It was like I ain't seen my long lost brother. We just smiling at each other, and I had to get off the mat and go give him a hug. And you know how they do when they say, I'm okay for Sharif. He was like, "Did you get it? Do you need to see it?" I said, "Absolutely. Use that gentleman right there. Get him." Yeah, Sensei Lil John. He like, "Oh, brother, I knew that was coming."
You
Yeah,
did
so
that to my, Sensei Lil John. That's and y'all know y'all my favorite, but that's my favorite Sensei, right?
Yeah.
I gotta say that because when he watching the show, I gotta say that.
No, it's all
my
love.
favorite Sensei. Oh yeah, it's all love. So you taught my son as well, and I remember when you started talking about the history. Akeem was in the classes. You remember on 95th?
I do.
When we were by Damon. Yeah. And so you were.
I was over there.
Yeah, and teaching as well. So we got a lot of good memories. But you said something else. You said when the brothers were flying. We got to understand what that means. Describe what that really means, because you mentioned Leonard, and he really can't fly, I believe.
So from Leonard to Sharif to Sensei David to Tristan to Museum, like it wasn't nobody in there that was on the ground. Everybody was, it looked like a karate movie, right? And I came in there and, I was athletic, but I wasn't flowing like that. You know what I'm saying? And I was somewhat jealous because I'm like, and then what happened was my fraternity brother, Sensei John St. Croix, he had been telling me. He said, man, because we were in the same school. He said, man, you got to come over here, man. I'm telling you, these brothers over here. And I see Sensei John, he flying too. And I'm like, I want to fly. and I'm telling you, it took me about 2 weeks. I had to do it. I had to learn that dive roll. I had to learn the break fall. And it took me 2 weeks, but I could not stop because I was walking in there as a brown belt, but they white belts. You know what I'm saying? Flying, break fall, handstand, fist roll, roll out. Then you see Professor come with his one finger. I'm like, I know he ain't just roll on one finger. He put his finger on the mat. And I'm like, well, hold on. No. I'm gonna get some of this. And then he started explaining the extension of ki. And he's not necessarily rolling on his finger, he's rolling on the energy that he's shooting out. It's ki. He said, so you think it's my finger, but you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, And then the first time I felt it, Professor threw me one day, and I said, let me try it. And we were in how you get into a rhythm or a flow in Aikido, and he threw me out. He's like, oh, nice roll. I did a one finger roll. The first time I was like, man, that was crazy. So when you see yourself doing things, you be like, now I'm understanding ki, energy, flow, and how it can extend out of my body, just like Professor, just like Sharif, just like Sensei David. So I became in love with it. And so now I'm just trying to share it with others and say, man, it's not me, it's us. We all have this ability to fly. I'll say that.
Right. It's so much we can talk about. I know this can go into a whole nother hour. We're going to come back because we got to come back to talk specifically about martial arts. But Professor, you had something to say.
Just real quick, want to give honor and homage to Dr. Moses Powell for giving us this.
Come on, you broke up again. I want you to say it again. So
I want to give homage and pay honor to Dr. Moses Powell for giving us
us,
the system. Us.
us,
Us. Yeah, that's the one finger roll, and then Grand Professor V, who was his teacher as well, from V Jiu Jitsu.
right.
Man. And so we blend Aikido with Jiu-Jitsu, which for me is a beautiful blend because Aikido, it's not just a martial arts that teaches you how to defend yourself. It's a martial arts that teaches you how to defend yourself from yourself. And so once we started studying, a lot of us started doing the same things that others were doing. Professor, he's like, and I can't mess with that yard bird no more, because we used to go to get some jerk chicken, right? He like, it's doing something to me, man. Y'all changing me, man. He like, now y'all got me doing this vegetarian thing. Come on, Bobby. I ain't coming for, saying? So we once we are all together, now we start flowing together, and not just on the mat, but outside of the mat in the books we read. Now he handed me books about meditation. So now I can't start a day without meditating, And so I'm sharing meditation with people like, man, do you all meditate? I did a meditation with my class one day right before a test. They came all in there looking like they was nervous, ready to cry because the school system put all this pressure on top of their head about, man, you get ready to take this test. This test gonna determine the rest of your life. And I'm like, they came in, they was just looking at me. I said, everybody close your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe in, hold it, breathe out. It was just a simple meditation. And then a boy was like, I feel so much better. Let's take this test. So I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? This is not the end of your life. This is just the beginning of something new. So relax. You know what I'm saying? You are going to be good. And plus, whatever, like a lot of them want to go to Lindblom. I'm like, don't you know the dean at the time was one of my closest friends? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The principal at the time was a black man,
You're right.
was part of the nation. My wife could teach at Lindblom. I said, if y'all want to get over there, I got all the connections to get to Lindblom. And then I got connections at Leo. I just came from teaching at Leo. So we have places for you all to go relax. But they put pressure on the children in 7th grade to believe that if they don't go to a selective enrollment school. And I'm like, I know some clowns that went to Whitney Young. You know what I'm saying? I know some goofies that went to Brooks. So don't think your school is going to be, it's always who you are. Stop believing that your story is determined by where you are. Your story is determined by who you are. And so I'm trying to eliminate that thought process that's being planted into them that, you're not good enough if you don't get this score. Math may not be your thing. Like, I'm a mathematician, but I can't sing, So I'll try singing in front of them. They like, oh, Mr. Park, you horrible. I'm like, I know. But that's why I'm not a singer. I'm a mathematician. But your gifts is going to make room for your blessings. So as long as you give, you're going to be blessed. So stop trying to be what somebody's telling you to be, and stop believing that if you don't become this at this level at this time when somebody's saying that you are somehow doomed to failure. Failure is only stopping. Failure is only not continuing. That's failure. That's it. But we were talking about martial arts. I'm sorry. I'm getting back into
But it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected, and that's
it is.
One of I like to talk about self-defense, but it's on so many levels that it's hard to just talk about one thing. Self-defense. Who you defending?
Can I say this real quick? In self-defense and what I've learned in my study of martial arts, you don't really know what you're capable of doing until that attack comes to you. So a couple things happened to me. I was training with Professor at a gym, and they respect Professor. And so one of the guys who run the gym, there was some bodybuilders in there, some I forget what you call them. They were bodyguards. I'm sorry, and they were over there hitting a heavy bag and working out. And the guy was like, "Man, y'all need to go over there and talk to them." So he pointed at Professor, and so I'm talking about brother was 6'7", he was huge, and he came over like, "Man, what y'all know?" He came over there talking how I used to talk when I first met Professor. And that man said, Professor said, "All right, I'm gonna show you something. Put the chokehold on him." He pointed to me. Man, bro was like, "Oh, little man right here." My man picked me up from my throat and put me against the wall. And before I knew it, I had broke that man down so fast, I didn't even know what I did. And he had let out a yell, and the whole gym stopped. Cats was jumping rope and hitting. They was like, everybody stop. And I was getting ready, like it was so quick because he attacked me, and I never knew. I didn't think he was gonna attack me. But my favorite move is, man, I'm gonna 2 fingers in your throat, and then I'm gonna either hit you, I'm gonna take your eyeball out, or it's something coming real quick. I don't have no you too big, bro. I ain't finna be boxing with you. I ain't finna be wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It's eyeball, throat, straight. And he was like, and I had his pinky finger. And he was like, okay, man. And he was like, and I was like, he's like, all right, man, all right. And then brother was so humble, but I was humble because I was scared because I never thought that I was gonna do that. Right.
See?
Second story, we were in a test, and I think we were testing for 2nd degree or 1st degree, and we all have to ookie for each other. And man, I'm talking about broke down, tired, and then it was Imani's turn to come out, and Professor has this thing of wearing you down before you test, right? You got to do a 400 jumping jacks, give me 25 push-ups. Okay, give me another 200 jumping jacks. So then he see you leaning over,
spider crawl,
bear crawls, and then now you're tired and you can't breathe. Then he like, all right, now attack him. You like, well, hold on, man, let me get my breath. So we attacking Imani, and she's clearly just winded. She don't have no more. And we was being nice. This man said, hey, stop being nice to her. And she was like, hold on. And so she kept trying to fix her hair. You know how black women
I was there.
She had a bandana on.
With y'all. Yeah.
Hey, Professor said, snatch your bandana off. He said, stop fixing that bandana. Focus on your attackers. Focus on your and she was like, hold on. And he said, snatch your bandana off. Man, I went to snatch the bandana.
It was a wrap.
I heard her say, wait a minute. And she turned into somebody different. And threw me across the room. And I said, Professor, I'm done. I'm not attacking her no more. And he just started laughing. I said, I just damn near broke my wrist. I promise you this. I remember this day. So when she threw me in I think it was a Shionagi. But I went to try to snatch the bandana, and it was a different voice. It wasn't a calm, Sister Imani, hey, brothers and sisters, how y'all doing? It was, hey, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and she had
she put those fingers right here on your neck. I was like, man, Professor, I don't want to do that.
And then I said, yeah, I'm done, Professor. I'm not attacking no more. He's like, all right. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. And that's the test. The real test is not you going through a series of techniques and blah, 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 blah. Is when it's really time to get down, what are you going to do? And I know, Sister Imani, you know what I'm saying? That's why I give you this all the time.
I'm giving you.
I will not grab your hair. I promise you I'll never do that again. You know what I'm saying?
So you telling my secrets, brother. You know I don't talk about me when it comes to martial arts. I was talking about you all. People not supposed to know.
But the story is to so everybody can see we all are martial artists to some degree, right? It's what degree are you? So you're bragging about us. I brag about you. You're my sister. You know what I'm saying? If somebody want a bean pie, man, please, Sister Imani. I don't care what somebody else doing, Sister Imani. You need some soup, bean soup? Oh man, Sister Imani, you can get it at Southtown. I think she got some pies over at some of the health food stores around. No, Sister Imani, that's my sister. So when I see you doing your thing, I'm so proud. It's like when I say sister, I'm not talking about just sister. It's like my sister. You know what I'm saying? Not, sister this from over there, sister that, sister this. No, my sister, Imani. Yeah, that's my sister.
You know what, Parker? I'm gonna piggyback on that because my niece is in town today from Ohio, Esty. She's really sitting to my right. And we were talking about some stuff earlier today, talking about food, and I said bean pie. Boy, her eyes lit up. She's like, Money's bean pie. I said, man. I said, we gotta find you. When I called Money earlier to see if they're open and get her something. But I know where to go grab something for her tomorrow at the store on 63rd. And then the brothers, I was on 79th in Stony Island, Parker. They pull up, hey, you want to brother with bean pie, my brother? I said, no, I can't do that. Why not? I said, man, because Sister Money's in the car. He saw her, and he went crazy. Oh, man, Sister Money, thank you so much, man. The work you do with the bean pie just made it much easier for us. I'm like, yeah, Sister Money's real.
I was in the car with you. I couldn't remember.
You sure was.
Yes.
I never forget it. I will never forget it. They went crazy.
Yeah, I loved his spirit. I wish we could meet him again because that's the spirit in which I do business. I don't do business in the spirit of this capitalistic society. So, and people need to understand that about me. I did distribution for our people because we can't accept each other until other people do, unfortunately. But that brother spirit was so on point with the way I feel like we as a people should do business. We don't need to be competition with each other. The only competition we need is what is the most we can do for our community. You do more this week than I. How many stories can you share, like you shared about the brothers in construction, or like the students in school, you know, under Coach Parker? That's what our competition should be.
That's right. That's right. I told the brother at the mosque that does the pies, because you know I would do my basketball program over there, and I'm like, brother, I would love to get a pie from you, because they always come in and talk to the parents, because we have 40 parents in the gym, and so they like, man, here's an opportunity. And I'm always saying, brother, you know, they have the books, they have the pies, they have the soaps, whatever. Man, talk to the parents, brother. The parents be walking out of there with pies, and then now it's, brother, can I get my pie? But I would say, man, I would get a pie from you, brother, if you would do the vegan bean pie. Like, you need to talk to Sister Imani, because you can, maybe she can help you get that recipe. He's like, man, I keep hearing that. He's like, I keep hearing that. Everybody keeps saying, you know, you have to have something for the plant-based eaters. Otherwise, you're losing a market, one of the fastest growing markets in the food, you know, sector is plant-based eaters. So please have something for us, because I would love to do business with any of my people, right? So yeah, and then man, I fed the children bean pie. You know, when you tell somebody you want a bean pie, the first bean pie, that don't sound right. And so just like being plant-based or being vegan, as they said, I don't even like to use vegan as much anymore, because there's so many plant-based. To me is a lot better, and really whole foods. But being plant-based, vegan, or whole foods, if you tell somebody before you feed them, hey, this is vegan, they go, man, hold on, I ain't, you know, with all of that, you know, vegan, whatever. But if you just put it in front of them, they're going to eat it. And then they'll ask later, what is this? I gave my students pie. They like, what's this? Bean pie. They like, it don't taste like beans. I'm like, you know, you because to them beans is, you know, pork and beans. That's all they know, right? So to them, beans got this funky taste that's gonna make you poop. You know what I'm saying? Give you the poop button.
My producer is giving me the signal that we went over, because we got so much. She gave me the.
Wrap it up.
But you know how it is when I get with my real brothers, right?
Yeah. No, boss lady, serious. Don't play with her.
Yeah, I want to talk to you all for another hour or two, but just promise me one thing, that you will come back more than once on the show. Can I get that promise?
Man, at least 3 times.
Okay. And then the other thing is just real. You all get a half a minute. We got to close out in exactly a minute, just to give some advice to young people. That's what we in with all the time.
Pray, fast, meditate, read, and write, and work out.
All right.
Man, focus, meditate, listen to your parents. They love you. Teachers, they're there not for the pay. Trust me, they're there to expand you, to help you grow. To always be able to teach someone else.
That's right. Okay, so we leave with that. And I want to thank you all again for taking this time out of your busy schedules to have conversation with your big little sis. What am I? Your big little sis, Imani, and on Conversations Over Pie. So thanks again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, I'll end this. And thank you all. I know for anyone that's viewing the show, I want to thank you and just remind you to always remember, be kind, because kindness goes a long way. With that, I leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Picking up the best, honey's original, a color above the rest. Sweet, savory, every bite's divine. Bean pie's fresh every single time. Taste the magic in every slice. Come on, now don't think twice.